I'm Oliver Garcia, and I am an electrical engineering / transmission engineering co-op at Burns & McDonnell. I was born in New York, and my parents are from El Salvador. 10 years ago, I think I was doing a lot of sports. I was mainly playing soccer. I don't even think I had engineering on my mind at that time. I was focused on sports, and I was in academics and I think doing pretty well. But then I saw little to no future in the sports side, how competitive it was. So I decided to shift my attention to more corporate world, and engineering was what caught my attention, being that I was good in STEM. So Genesys Works, I think, reached out to our school. I was approached by a counselor. There was a lot of marketing that was happening, and so it intrigued me because I always thought that I would love to start at a corporate job, get an idea for what the real world feels like, especially if you want to spend 4 years and pay a lot of money to get a degree. I would like to make sure that I'm in the right place. So having that opportunity, it was a no-brainer for me to say, if I can get the experience before I go pay all this money for college, why not do it? So that's kind of how it led me to Genesys.
I am David Hancock, Engineering Director for T&D in Houston. I met Oliver unfortunately I didn't get to meet him at the very beginning of the program out of high school and into his internship, but probably about 2 to 2.5 years ago for the first time. Somebody had introduced me to him, and he had an interest in electrical engineering, particularly related to transmission line design. And so he came over and talked to me at that time, and almost immediately I knew that he was going to be a good fit for our team. Knowing that he was an intern still, I was kind of wondering how much time it was going to take to mentor him, but I immediately knew he was the right person.
So first encounter, David was actually presenting a topic. He was doing a dry run for our department. I was at the time still am in the transmission department, but mainly working on transmission design. I was doing school for electrical engineering, and he talked about an electrical topic, and he actually went over 30 minutes that day. But it was an intriguing, very, very intriguing presentation. It was for a conference that actually last year we got to present at together. But based off of that interaction, I was like, man, that's a group that I want to be a part of. And that's when I talked to my manager, made that introduction with David, and then we worked since then.
I'm Adrienne Bash. I am the Transmission Operations Director. Burns McDonnell is an engineering construction consulting firm. So we do a lot of different types of engineering, consulting, construction services. We have different market sectors that we call global practices. Most of us are structural engineers, civil engineers, so it's infrastructure design. At the time when Oliver transitioned into the group that I was working with, it was right after COVID, and as you can imagine, workload was pretty up and down at that point. And so I was over the transmission business line, and it was brought to my attention that we had Oliver. He had just come off of his high school program, and so we had hired him on as a contingent worker to do drafting for us. And so it came to my attention that he was available, and at the time it was kind of a all hands on deck in terms of keeping people busy, and that was something that I was, really motivated to do just for the health of our organization. So I was like, of course, we have work, we have the capability to bring in more work, bring him over. That sounds great. So at the time, we had done that with several other less experienced engineers and less experienced team members from other divisions, our oil and gas group, for example. And so Oliver really quickly kind of clicked in with those younger folks, and it came out very quickly, like, hey, he's pretty sharp. Like, hey, he's pretty good. Like, he's inquisitive. He seems to be a good fit here. He worked full time. He went to school full time. He was, the same sharp worker, the same great teammate. Same positive feedback every day, but it was continuing to improve in terms of he's taking on more responsibility, he wants to do more, he wants to learn more.
Over the time, I've worked on several projects, and there's been several pretty decent, complicated projects that we worked on, or he's actually asked for mentorship or reviewing of or overseeing. And that was definitely one. The other one I can think of is just us kind of thinking out of the box on the substation EMF stuff that we had to kind of think out of the box on how we were going to model and things like that. So that was kind of complicated, the very first one, and going through that trial and error. One thing I think stands out with him is that he is extremely driven. He's just driven to really get through school, work full-time here, and excel while he's doing that at both. And, honestly, he doesn't spend a lot of time outside of this place in school at this point, but hopefully one day he can get to that point. But he's extremely driven. Outside of that, he's started in high school. We don't see that very often, so it was very unusual to have a high school person come in, and almost immediately you knew he was somebody that belonged at Burns and Mac. So that was kind of unusual to me than others. Like even myself in high school, there's no way I would have been involved in that sort of thing.
I really wanted to go to Texas A&M with all my friends. That was a big engineering school, and we had the plan to all go. Some of my friends that actually did the program with me also wanted to go to Texas A&M, and the plan was to, go to college. But then when you introduce this concept of being able to go into the corporate world before everyone, gets excited, it's like, wow, it's an amazing opportunity to get that. So my parents were supportive. At the time, they drove me every single day to the classes over the summer. They were taking me to the CCCs. They supported me all throughout. Friends, maybe all of them didn't really know what it was about, but we could, communicate to them and tell them, oh, this is a great opportunity. And unfortunately, some of them were like, man, I really wish I knew about it sooner and I would have done it. But I think all around, very, very positive thoughts. I think David's a very personable person. I think everyone enjoys his company and being around him. And I think that, a lot of the time he's a very technical person. Like he'll dive into the weeds of things and dig as deep until he finds a solution. But he also has the broad bandwidth to be a personable person too, right? Not just be stuck in the books. He'll talk to you, he'll mentor you, he'll be that person to back you up whenever you need support. So having that bandwidth that you can do both things is really what I took away from David.
A great mentor is someone who, from the beginning, is rooting for your success. Once someone's on your side and they're cheering for you, it's about listening, it's about time, it's about consistency. It's
been a long time coming, I think. Like we said, I started Genesys technically I found out about Genesys my junior year of high school, but the fact that Genesys allowed me gave me the opportunity to start full time at a company. So rather than going to college, I start college and start a career. That was 6 years ago in August. That's been a long time coming. So it's a lot of pressure that comes off because you've worked so hard to get to this point, and so it's a good feeling, and I'm glad I can share it with everyone here who has led me to this point where I can actually graduate, and I'm just grateful for those around me to have supported me the whole way.